Mad dogs and Englishmen go out in the midday sun. Okay, so as to avoid this age-old philosophy, I chose to begin my ride of 65 kilometers as I had proposed to complete for a return to cycling to celebrate my 65th birthday. Due to some work commitments, I had to put that plan on hold for a couple of weeks, and due to a recent typhoon that struck in the Philippines and then on the island of Taiwan before it reached the Chinese mainland, and subsequent train cancellations, I did not go back to Jiangxi province until the end of July. So my return to cycling began again on the 1st of August. A few rides out to get my weary legs used to the distances again, completing two 20-kilometer rides on that first day, one in the morning, second in the evening. A few more rides and I set my goal for the 8th of August, a full 3 weeks after my 65th birthday, and on the 6th I completed a ride of 32.5 kilometers, exactly half distance of that I planned to complete. I was left with a dilemma: to repeat that same route, only doing 2 laps in a single ride, or to complete a new out-and-back route to cover the desired distance. My dilemma was that the route I had already completed would mean a large percentage of the course would be ridden in direct sunlight, so I opted for the new, previously unridden route, at least unridden by me. Now the summer in Jiangxi is hot, very hot, and not wishing to be that Englishman stuck out in the midday sun, I chose to begin riding at 5 a.m, around 30 minutes before the sun rises. Even at that time, it was still 29 degrees Celsius and would rise to 40 by midday, so my plan was to be out for around 4 hours and avoid the worst heat of the day. As for the mad dogs, there are not too many here in China. When cycling back in Europe, I would regularly come across dogs that are intent on protecting their area and doing this aggressively. Here in China, generally dogs are bred as pets and not to be aggressive, and up until now I have not had a single encounter with any dogs being overly aggressive. So my day began with my alarm waking me at 4:30 a.m, and after a coffee and a bowl of oatmeal I was ready to begin. So my bike was loaded with some food, lots of water, lights, and I began. On exiting the building where I live with my family, there was another cyclist preparing his bike, so at least I would not be the only crazy person out on the road at this early hour. It was across one of the many bridges that took me over the Shin River, and after navigating my way through the city, I was soon out into the countryside and heading south toward Longhushan. Another cyclist was on this road, and we overtook each other multiple times on the nearly 20-kilometer ride to Longhushan before I made a left turn and he continued on. The road between Yingtan and Longhushan is a familiar one to me, as I used to work in the small city of Jinshi, some 50 kilometers to the south of Yingtan. During my 3 years working in Jinshi, I would take the bus back to Yingtan each Friday and return on Sunday afternoon. During the final year of my working in Jinshi, the road was being upgraded, and this would be the first time I had travelled on the upgraded road since it was completed almost a year ago. It was a wonderfully smooth surface with a separate cycle path keeping me away from the heavy traffic using this busy through route. On reaching the outskirts of Longmeshan, it was time to leave this busy road and join what is known as the Longmeshan Greenway, a picturesque but also hilly route to my planned turnaround point of Shanqing, an ancient village over 1,000 years old. I arrived in the village at around 7 a.m. and very little activity was evident here at that time of the morning. Although as I arrived in the village, two other cyclists were just leaving and heading along the road I had just ridden. I cycled through the village and onto the bridge that crosses the wide river and water sports play area below. I turned around and stopped for the first of my breaks to eat some snacks and regain my breath before my return journey began. I picked up 2 more energy drinks from a filling station that was just opening and began my way back. The first few kilometers of the road back were the hardest of the day, with a few steep climbs to be encountered. Once I had navigated my way past those, the route back felt much easier. The temperature had risen, but most of the time I was riding in the shade and choosing those shaded areas to stop for 2 more periods of a brief rest and recuperation. Throughout the ride, I was giving updates to my whereabouts to my wife. She worries about me on these rides, and I try to reassure her that all is well and I have enough snacks and drinks to get me through each ride. As I arrived at Longmeshan once again and the new section of road, I was aware of one more significant climb to encounter, but I somewhat surprised myself with how easy it felt to negotiate that climb, and freewheeling down that climb. I knew I had less than 10 kilometers to go as the city skyline came into view in the distance. Negotiating my way through the city was a little busier than it had been a few hours earlier, as people were generally on their way to work. For me, my day was almost done. Covered in sweat from my efforts and the heat, I arrived home after 3 hours and 50 minutes of riding. I'm all tired, pleased with the effort. Not bad for a 65-year-old. That is all for this video. If you've enjoyed watching and it's shown you a little detail of life here in China, then your subscribing to my channel would mean a lot to me. Thank you for watching. Make sure you click on the link to the next video. And until the next time, goodbye for now.